The fourth, we believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Overnight, CNN has obtained this internal memo circulated by House Republicans outlining the 4 main points Republican lawmakers plan to push to defend the president as the impeachment inquiry goes public tomorrow. I want to bring in Jeremy Diamond, CNN White House correspondent, and Jennifer Rogers, CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor. And I will always issue this disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think I need to be one to be astonished by how weak these 4 main assertions are by the congressional Republicans here. Number 1, the July 25th call shows no conditionality. Well, you don't need conditionality. You only need to read the president pushing or coercing the leader of Ukraine to investigate the Bidens. Plus, mountains of evidence suggests there was conditionality, well known and implied, over the 2 months of the summer. Zelensky and Trump said there was no pressure on the call. Donald Trump, not a reliable witness in this case. And Zelensky, not either. He needs the United States as an ally. The Ukrainian government was not aware of the hold of aid on the July 25th call. That may be true. However, they were aware into August. Right. And also they were aware that a meeting was being held up by the 2 leaders. And number 3, the security hold was lifted on September 11th. Yeah, after the White House knew about the whistleblower report. Now, I've been looking at this, Jen, and it is the most comprehensive defense that Republicans have issued. That in of itself is interesting, and they have some interesting evidence and arguments here. But if those are their 4 main points, they don't have a lot to argue.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as we were discussing earlier, to me, it seems like what they're really doing is more saying, listen, the Mueller report kind of collapsed upon itself because it was too complex, too complicated, too many facts, too many different tangents. I think they're trying to do the same thing here, right? All these witnesses are testifying. Each has a different view, is bringing different facts to the table. The more they can throw out there a bunch of different facts and, well, that's not true. This other thing is true. We're worried about corruption. We're worried about all this stuff. It kind of complicates and muddles the narrative, which had been very simple at the start. I think that's part of what they're doing here.
Yes, they're trying to confuse you with, extraneous BS. This is what Nikki Haley was doing, okay? But here's how it's going to work tomorrow. So there's going to be 45 minutes for the Democrats and 45 minutes for the Republican side at the outset. So the chairman, obviously, is Devin Nunes. This is being handled in the Intelligence Committee, not the Judiciary Committee. So the chairman, obviously Devin Nunes, will have 45 minutes. In that 45 minutes, he is allowed to yield time, as you know, I yield my time to the gentleman from, right? He's allowed to yield time to anybody he wants. And the person that he is going to yield time to, there will be probably 2 people, will be a Democratic prosecutor, Daniel Goldman, who you've never heard of, but you will know tomorrow. He is the Intelligence Committee's Director of Investigations. And it seems like Daniel Goldman will have a chance to question the witness, the first witness up tomorrow, who is Bill Taylor, and then also George Kent. These are 2 Foreign Service officers with, between them, almost 100 years experience being foreign officers, like 37 years over here and 40 years over there, something like that, okay? The other prosecutor you will be introduced to tomorrow on behalf of the Democrats is a man named Dan Noble. I want you to know both of these prosecutors came out of SDNY, which is considered to be one of the great prosecutorial entities in the United States of America, because they handle Wall Street, they handle financial crimes, they handle cyber crimes, they handle terrorism cases, they handle the most influential and important matters that the United States seems to have to do, okay? And both of these men are prosecutors formally from SDNY, okay? Now, Daniel, they're both named Daniel. Okay, so the 2 Dans tomorrow, you'll have a Goldman and you'll have a Noble. Goldman and Noble. So both these Dans come from SDNY. Both of them are prosecutors. Noble specializes in cyber crime and organized crime. He's a mob guy. He's also a cyber expert. Goldman is a intelligence prosecutor. He is the lead prosecutor on the for the Intelligence Committee. All right, the other side, Devin Nunes. Devin Nunes is the ranking member, as you know, of the Intelligence Committee. Why? I have no idea. This man leaks like a sieve. This man lies. He's the one that ran over to the White House, got information from Trump that Trump believed he was being wiretapped, and pretended that he gave that information to Trump. But it was exactly the other way around, and this man still sits on the Intelligence Committee. But Devin Nunes is probably going to yield to their lawyer. Their lawyer is a guy named Steve Castor. Steve Castor is not attached to the Intelligence Committee at all. Steve Castor comes to us from the Oversight Committee. So expect the first 45 minutes of Schiff's time. I'm sure Schiff will do an opening statement, and then I'm sure he will yield plenty of time to these two prosecutors to question these witnesses. Right after that, 45 minutes will be awarded to Devin Nunes, and he will probably make his opening statement and then give control to Steve Castor from the Oversight Committee. Now, all these three lawyers have been in the depositions, contrary to Republican claims that there was nobody from the Republican side invited. There were 100 members of the GOP who were allowed to attend these depositions. Lawyers were invited to these depositions, and these are the lawyers that were participating in these depositions, okay? So that's what the first 45 minutes will look like. After that, they revert to the stupid 5-minute rule, which is not cohesive and not conducive to telling a story. Expect that the Democrats will ask some decent questions. Expect that the Republicans will speechify. I doubt that they will have any questions for either of these witnesses, Taylor or Kent. I really do. Because if they prepare, which I doubt they will, that means that they will have read the transcripts of their testimony, and they will know that these people are not there to exculpate the President of the United States. They will understand that Bill Taylor, George Kent understood that there was this secret extortion that the president didn't want his name attached to for his own political benefit occurring with Ukraine. Also, I want you to know that yesterday there was testimony from somebody who will not be part of tomorrow, okay? But I hope that they eventually do call her. Her name is Laura Cooper, and she is the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense. She is tasked to Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia matters. And she testified under oath that there was a certification, and this is something the Republicans do not want you to know. They're going to pound the table because they don't have the law on their side, because the president did not write a memo saying why he was doing this, because he was doing it in secret. So there is no explanation for why he was holding up this money, which is required by law. If Congress appropriates money, then it has to be spent. And if the president didn't want to spend it, then he had to say why. That was not done. Just like in DACA, that was not done. But they're going to argue that it was about corruption. It was about corruption. Now, we all know he was only interested in one company, Burisma, and one person, Hunter Biden, with regard to corruption. So let me tell you right now at the outset that that is a lie, because yesterday, Laura Cooper, the Assistant Deputy Secretary of Defense for Russia and Ukraine, testified that there was a certification process to see if Ukraine was complying with anti-corruption measures that the United States and the Western world, the NATO allies, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the EU required. There was a certification process. And guess what? They passed with flying colors. They were certified compliant with all anti-corruption activities and policies that were required of them to attract international investment by our Department of Defense, our State Department, our U.S. Embassy, General Dayton, a retired general, General Dayton, and the United States Congress. So please try and keep that in mind. And also try and keep in mind that this was a months-long effort that was undertaken to extort Ukraine. Months long. It wasn't just about a phone call where he asked them to do this. It was months long.